Let's dance. Put on your red shoes and dance the blues. Let's dance to the song they're playing on the radio. Today, we come here not to bury Venom, but to celebrate him. So, friends, Romans, Irishmen, Marvelites, please join us for a very special episode of Marvel Movie Talk where we celebrate Venom, The Last Dance. Is it The Last Dance? Is it the worst Venom movie? Some would say no to both of those, but we will have that conversation right now here on Geekscape, Marvel Movie Talk. Very excited to have this conversation about Venom: The Last Dance with some of our regulars. Of course, my friend, the great Count Eric Connor. Hello, sir. How are you today?
Oh, good. I want to be on equal measure to you. I am good. I'm coming at you from work, looking a little
Yeah.
more professional. My usual
It,
madness that
it,
is my house.
yeah, your background that doesn't look at all suspiciously like a free clinic where you might be registered under an anonymous name because the treatment you're seeking isn't covered by your insurance company. Also with us, the greatest Brooklyn boy since Jackie Robinson, the one, the only, David Brody. How are you, sir?
Good. I noticed you didn't preface my intro with my friend, but that's okay. All right, it's fine.
I'm still getting to know you, Brody. It's only been a couple of years.
That's fair.
And
That's fair.
Yeah, exactly. But also with us, my friend, the greatest Irishman, the Hughesiest, Adam Hughes. And no, I don't know what time it is right now in Ireland, but I'm sure it's happy hour. Hughezy, welcome back to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Christian. Hey, Christian, you voting for Trump? Hey, Eric, you should draw a dick on that wall behind you. Hey, David, you remind me of Jim Norton.
Wait, you just
Thanks,
consolidated our entire conversation that we had before we started.
Yeah.
Hughezy, that's sacred what we talked about. And
well, if the producers of Venom 3 have anything to learn about, that's called editing. You can edit stuff down and make it shorter, and it's better. Let's go, Vance.
Well, I'm excited to talk about this movie here on the Geekscape Network. Our buddy Jonathan London and Ian Kerner, they did a breakdown of it last week after they saw it, and they had a kind of controversial reaction to it. I got a text from Jonathan after he saw it, and he said it was the worst movie he'd ever seen. And I have to disagree. Now, for those of you that watch this show, those of you that watch the Blackcast, I have covered some horrendous movies just in the last couple weeks, but 2024 is the golden age for bad movies. This isn't the worst movie I've seen this month. All right. Because I saw Joker 2. I saw Megalopolis. But earlier this year, I also saw Madam Web. I saw Unfrosted. I name drop, went with my buddy Liam McEnany. We saw Borderlands. This movie is not good, but if worst, it's not even the worst Venom movie. I know, hot take. But Hughezy, as the one that's the farthest away, that it's the latest, I'd like to start with your take on Venom 3, The Last Dance.
I didn't even think it was the worst Tom Hardy film I've seen this year.
Interesting. Okay.
That being said, I thought Venom 3 stank of shit. It was embarrassing. I actually felt sorry for Tom Hardy, despite the fact that he get 20 million for this. I genuinely see this as a career damaging film. It's not going to be profitable. I said even on Twitter, I think he's officially now deemed a problem. I think he is more obsessed with being considered a tough guy in films than actually putting forward a good performance. You can see as his career's gone on over the past decade, he talks with weirder and weirder accents that aren't from any actual region I've heard of, and his shoulders go up more and more to his fucking head like this. He's an arsehole.
Look, I think that I'm sorry that you held back in the opening minutes of this, but I'm sure you'll tell us what you really thought, as they say, as we go along. He has had some interesting vocal choices throughout his career. I'm not going to disagree with that. Mr. Brody, I actually know the
Yes.
least about what you think of this movie because I saw it with young Eric, and Hughezy made his thoughts known via drunken DM. As most of my conversation with Hughezy is. But what did you think of this on the whole?
I thought the CGI was better than the last Ant-Man movie. So I'll start off with a positive right there.
Fair.
I spent the whole movie waiting for a funny line and then saying, that's a MacGuffin. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? The whole story's based on a stupid premise. That's moronic. How did that happen? And how did it end that way? And what WTF? So that was my reaction.
I'm sorry. Is that the list of reactions you had watching Venom: The Last Dance, or was that a checklist of Aaron Boone managerial decisions in the World Series? I'm not sure which one of those you might be saying. Oh, okay. There's
both.
Little column A,
why would
B,
why would Venom pull Garrett Cole out of the game so early? I don't know.
Venom would definitely bring Gleyber Torres to pitch in after sitting on the bench for 5 weeks. But that's not why we're here. I'm sorry.
At one point in the movie, I did say, well, it's better than the second one. So that's the highlight for me.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. By the way, Kemma Egan, thank you for being here. I know we're on at a different, unusual time. We appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. No, Hughezy, that is not how we talk to our friends in the United States.
Oh, sorry.
No, look, in Ireland, I think she would have married you if you had approached her in that way.
So I thought that was the lady that directed Marvel 3 or Venom 3. Sorry.
No,
he was actually talking to me, I think.
Kemma Egan is a big fan, and we adore her. She was not a fan of the Venom movie. Such a good character that was dummied down with jokes. Absolutely. Eric Connor, you and I had another one of our romantic interludes where I guess the last movie date we went on wasn't Madam Web. We went to Mission Impossible, but the most romantic part of that was that the air conditioning was broken mid-June in Burbank, California. So it was a hot night in more ways than one.
The Mission Impossible was me not sweating through every pore.
Yeah. How did this measure up to the classic Madam Web for you?
Okay, so if we're using Madam Web as a standard,
we can start there.
That's a pretty low bar. That's the Billy Barty, Hervé Village of Marvel movies, of comic book movies, of movies. This is better than that, but it's. I thought it was like a tale of two movies. I thought the first hour was just garbage, and the humor is especially annoying. Like him with the getting his Tom Cruise Brian Brown cocktail on is a joke that fell flat after 5 seconds, and then it kept going and kept going. And then when they have is it Mrs. Chang? I don't want to
Mrs. Chang, yes.
I don't want to misname her. It could be Mrs. Cohen. I don't know. But Mrs. Chang shows up, and it's a big Y. And you're like, okay, well, that could be a fun little throwaway joke. Nope, it's a whole scene. And yeah, she looked good in that red dress, as would most of us here on this panel. But it was one of those, they would take the jokes and kill them again and keep going. And that was the first hour. The last half hour, I didn't mind so much. I actually almost enjoyed it, I would even say.
Well, I do feel like what they spent in terms of the budget, the majority of it went into the last 30 minutes. But I want to circle back what you were talking about earlier, taking jokes and kind of beating them into the ground. I'm going to go to a comedy expert and ask Hughezy, do you feel like the first hour of this movie, they Ray DeVito'd the comedy?
Very nice.
Well, first of all, I hate Ray DeVito. He's a piece
I'm
of
sorry.
shit.
I didn't realize that. My apologies. Yeah.
I hope he's as dead as the chances of Venom 4 by the end of this year. But again, it goes back to it's like when you watch Austin Powers 1. Have you ever seen Austin Powers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. You know what? I got to interrupt you. You know my answer? Yeah, baby. Oh my God, that was home run, Kumiya.
I don't get it. But when you see Austin Powers 1, you go, oh, that's funny. He's doing Yeah Baby and he's doing groovy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you see Austin Powers 2 and you go, oh, it's the same joke. It's kind of funny, I guess, but not as funny as the first time. And then in Austin Powers 3, it's like, it's so unfunny. It's like, I'm not too sure it was actually funny in the first place. And with Venom 3, it's literally the same joke of look, it was like, oh, I'm gonna go over here, but I'm gonna go over there. And then it's like then stop going into public places, you fucking idiot. You don't want to get caught, but you go to Las Vegas to gamble with a fucking alien symbiote on your back.
And
just
cameras
seems like,
everywhere.
Exactly. It's Chris Hemsworth syndrome, where an actor can't be handsome and rich. They also want to be considered funny too, even though it's physically impossible for English people to be funny ever.
Benny Hill.
John
Nope.
Oliver.
Benny Hill again.
I despise John Oliver, and Ricky Gervais is a piece of shit as well.
I have the answer.
Mr. Bean.
Mr.
Yeah,
Bean.
Yes,
Mr. Bean
Mr.
is a
Bean.
very attractive man, isn't he?
Eddie is
But yes, he skates by on the looks, but Mr. Bean's funny because he doesn't speak. Ish.
That's it. You know what? That's a great point. Yeah. And,
What about Queen Elizabeth?
No, she was a good-looking woman. What do you think the reaction was like with her husband?
But
had
not,
Jackson
not
out for the
necessarily
first
so
night.
funny. Kemi Egan, I haven't seen this one yet. Can't wait for it to come to cable. Yeah, I think that enjoyed in the privacy of your own home. And by the way, you'll be able to watch it at home pretty soon, I think.
I wish cable was in it.
Okay, that would have made the movie better. And this comment from the chat: very cool movie, very good film. Whoa, I'm sorry. Do you think we're talking about a different movie? A film like no other. I really like the storyline and actors. Very great. Oh, do you think that there's a chance that this might be spam for us to go ahead and click on that link?
I'm comfortable playing with onions.
Well, I think we all know that nobody likes onions, but in any event, you like the name checks. You like the Easter eggs, Hughezy.
I certainly do.
So, yeah, there is a fundamental problem with sequels when, first of all, when they take the same idea and they beat it again and again. It's it's the reason why I would say that Die Hard 3 is great, because they don't try to carry on the storyline other than having him. Die Hard 2 is dog shit because they're like, well, we got to put all these characters in even though they don't make sense. And also, let's just take it to an airport. But Hughes, you disagree.
Yeah, I will not have that talk on this show. Brody did not come here to have filth spoken like that. Die Hard 3 is better than Die Hard 2, but Die Hard 2 is still great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
Well, you only like Die Hard 3 because of the sign that John McClane wears when he goes uptown, but I do understand. But whatever you're about to say, maybe don't say it. But
I was just going to say, thanks for spoiling my Halloween costume. And it says, thanks, Kamala on the back.
you can't call a Halloween costume something you wear every weekend. Sorry.
Right, exactly.
And with that, Geekscape's relationship with Christian Bladt will be ending.
No, I think everything's fine, Eric. That's crazy talk from the way I hear it. But American Pie 2, they have all the girls in it, and there's no storyline for them. But why are they in it? Because they're contractually obligated to it. So, getting around to the point, who needed Mrs. Chang in this movie? Like, she's a fun character in the first two, but what are the odds that? Okay, sure, she could be in Las Vegas at the same time.
What are the odds?
Yeah, what are the odds of an Asian woman going from California to Las Vegas? That part's fine, but she's like right next to where he is.
But think of the how many casinos are there in Las Vegas anyway? One. So it's pretty obvious that on that exact day and that exact casino at that exact time, these two people from New York would just so happen to meet up. Yeah. And what age is that lady? Because Jesus.
Yeah, and the odds are pretty good that she'll win the jackpot just as he's looking around.
Yeah, well,
see?
I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
And look, all of this adds up. And but to Eric's point, we get an entire dance sequence out of the fact that she's there, which he also is supposed to stay out of full Venom mode so that he doesn't get detected. And he's like, well, yeah, but I'm going to go ahead and break that so that I can dance with this broad here.
Possibly risk the entire universe because I need
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
dance.
But
He needs
thankfully,
to dance.
Go ahead and establish the. Go ahead.
So I was going to say, thankfully, it was so funny. Like everybody laughed exactly for that amount of time of that song. Maybe ABBA may finally have some success.
Oh,
now
it
with
wasn't
the
even
Venom
ABBA. It was like the whatever's
the
the
dance
low
mix.
bargain, right? No, but
Yeah.
it's the
Timo.
second it starts, you're like, well, yeah, they couldn't afford ABBA.
No, look, none of us can afford ABBA. All right. I mean, that many good-looking blonde people, it's not in any of our budget. I don't believe. So, it's easy to cherry pick moments like that, but what's harder is like Eric's talking about, the end sequence is at least the most exciting / interesting for the genre that we're in. All right. Again, we're grading on sort of a big curve. If this was a Steven Seagal movie that had that last half hour, I'd be like, this is the greatest Steven Seagal movie ever. Which, by the way, I think he is starting to look a little bit like Venom. But no, one of the other symbiotes. Let me backtrack that. He looks like a different symbiote.
He's the blob.
And Cami Egan is going to be on the lookout for Mrs. Chen and symbiotes when she goes to Vegas in December.
Yeah.
By that point, you'll be able to have a Blu-ray copy of Venom: The Last Dance to watch on the plane
For
Cami
$1.
Egan.
Yeah.
But,
More
yeah,
like a
right.
Brian Ray.
Exactly. So I want to know, we've really kind of all touched on things that might have worked. Hughezy, you and I were trading messages before this came out. There, not surprisingly, there was some complimentary press that Sony was sharing ahead of time. And now I'm just questioning the whole media. Maybe I shouldn't believe what I see from the media, because I don't know how anybody could see this and think it was great. But how many minutes in did you start to think, hey, maybe I was lied to about how good this movie was?
Well, I honestly, from the beginning, I thought, okay, we're on to something good, until that bit when the gangsters followed Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
And then they started the whole tough talk stuff, but then the suit came up and it had to start being funny. I just thought, oh, here we go. This is going to be a long day, because, and I don't mean to shatter any illusions, I had a very bad hangover because I went to Oktoberfest the night before, and I didn't realize how sick I was until I get into the cinema, and it was a torturous experience.
So were you so sick that before you sat down, you actually had to order a light beer, or do they not even have those in Ireland?
I actually chose not to buy a beer there because I thought I was going to, and I don't mean to be vulgar, get the fucking shits.
Well, I appreciate you cleaning it up. We do have a lot of children that check out this show. Eric, what was the moment for you? You probably nudged me when you felt like, this might not be very good. I think that is a clear demarcation point. There's no coming back when all the dogs are in cages and then the tough guys show up and Venom has to eat all of their heads, which I believe we're supposed to laugh at. I don't know for sure, but I suspect that. But Eric, what was there a moment for you?
I think for me, it was during the previews, when it was a preview for Den of Thieves 2 with Jared Butler. And the second that started, it's like, well, first of all, like, does anyone remember Den of Thieves? I had that question. And then I'm like, why is this preview here? They couldn't even get a good preview for this movie. I'm like, okay, this is not going to go well.
What you're talking about is if you finally get a chance to go to Peter Luger's Steakhouse, and before they even take your order, the salad comes, and you're like, this salad tastes like shit. And you're just like, there's no way that we're coming back from this salad. Is that where we're at? This was shit salad.
It was a wedge. It wasn't a real salad. It was just a quarter of a head of lettuce. I think like that scene with the dogs was indicative of so many things about it. It was a completely superfluous, unnecessary scene. Yeah, I love dogs. My dogs often cameo on your show, but in the end of it all, like, it was one of those, like, okay, they're just filling time, like contractually obligated to make this thing whatever, an hour and 40 minutes. And that was a scene you could have lost, and you would have lost nothing. And the dance scene, I mean, honestly, again, I told my son, who really is kind of, he looked at me very mad that I dared to see this without him, and I went with that, as he called him, a hussy, Christian Blatt.
It's true.
Yeah, 16-year-olds, that language coming back in a big way. And I said, listen,
Well, I
I'll go with
appreciate you
you.
cleaning it up, but I do believe that your son has called me a hooer before.
A hua, yeah, two-syllable hua.
Yeah, well,
Freaking
you know,
hooah.
in the vernacular of The Sopranos, of course. Yes.
In the Hoboken kind of way.
My neighborhood.
By the way, why didn't your son come with us? Was it because the movie started at 9:45?
Yeah, that might have been.
Or because
had
he
something
had
to do with
taste.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Also
the
true.
classy one in the family. But that first hour, literally, like, you could not see that first hour, sit down, miss nothing, not understand everything going forward. And in essence, I mean, right there is the problem. It's like it had so all fat, no meat, to use your steak metaphor from before, Christian, and all gristle.
And so I don't remember Venom 2 that well. I seen it once and tried to fucking kill myself, but
No, I'm sorry. We have to say on YouTube that you thought about unaliving yourself or going to Greenland. I just
so I meant to say unaliving myself with kindness because it was almost nearly Christmas.
Rainbow bridging yourself, yeah.
Yes, right.
But so Eddie Brock was in a different dimension at the start.
Well, yeah. So
for
that
5 seconds.
Well, that's sort of the fascinating thing, that's where they pick up this movie, because at the end of Venom 2, he goes into the MCU, and the expectation is, oh shit, Venom is going to be in Spider-Man No Way Home. Wow, they went and put him in there. And Feige was like, no, I've been responsible for enough shit. That is not going to cross my desk. And so there's a post-credit scene in No Way Home where he leaves a little bit of the symbiote ooze, pre-symbiote as some would call it. He leaves it there on the counter at what? And then he goes back, which is the beginning of this movie. So they have him go to 616 just so he can find out who Tom Holland is. And if you remember, Venom licks the screen, which, you know, who hasn't licked the screen when they've seen Tom Holland on it? I don't see anybody raising hands. So I think that I would like that story. There has to have been a plan for him to do something in that Spider-Man movie. But he didn't do anything, Hughezy. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Brody.
They allowed Sony to show Tom Holland.
Yeah. Right.
So they had to have been given approval for that.
Yeah.
So there must have been something on the possible.
Right.
Because they couldn't use Tom Holland without permission.
Right. And just
but they're co-producers.
Refer to the
can't use Tom Holland as part of the contract.
The framed photo in Deadpool and Wolverine where you don't see Tom Holland, you just see the what was it, whose face? Yeah, it's Tom Holland's face who's covered by the Iron Man helmet. You know, so there is a lot of that. So Hughezy, it's not on you for not remembering it, but you know, it is a true cinematic classic because in general, I liked Woody Harrelson up until that movie, and I haven't watched him in anything since then. I cover my eyes when Cheers reruns are on. I don't want to see from him. I thought it was a great choice for him to play Carnage, and look, I've been wrong a couple of times. So it's not easy to remember Venom 2. And so then we get that police officer character who, as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, this is like let's just say the less attractive fourth Wahlberg brother that we didn't know about, you know, was that guy. And they don't actually do anything with him. So I'm not sure why he's in this movie. Was
Menachem? You mean Menachem Wahlberg?
Yes, right. Well, that was his name post conversion, and by that I mean he stopped rooting for the Patriots. He converted from that. Oddly enough, he's a Bengals fan. But this does bring the good question, and I'll go to you first, Brody. Yep. Did you have everything from Venom 2 like, you know, loaded in your mind, or did you have to kind of stare at the screen and go, "Wait, who's this? And what are they talking about?"
I did not remember a frame from Venom 2 other than Carnage was orange, I think.
Kind of.
Other than that, I didn't remember who the Mark Wahlberg guy was. Yeah. The only reason he's in the movie is to explain to the scientists about the codec and that their lives are in danger. He played that role. His only role was to talk to them, give them info, and then die as soon as he was free. Right? He was there to like show them that, oh, these aren't bad bad creatures. They're here to help us. So he won them over. He gave them info. Then he died. That was it. That was his whole role there. And as far as the dog scene with the killers, it reminded me of two things. Number one, it reminded me of every time Bruce Banner is about to be mugged. You don't want to make me angry. You're not going to like me when I'm angry. And then they wait. What do you mean by that? Give him. And so if this movie was about the killers, if this was a movie about the bad guys, right? He would have said, "This is your last warning," and it would have shot him in the face.
Yes, right.
They wouldn't have waited
Right.
a minute and a half for him to badmouth them, insult them, threaten them. I'm not afraid of you. You're going to get hurt. I'm just letting you know you're going to get hurt. He's holding the gun, right? Why would you wait to find out? You were like, "Oh, I'm going to get bang. You're done."
Well, I don't think you know the phrase "fuck around and find out." So they were letting him fuck around, and then they found out. So
they did find out.
They wanted to make sure that there was ample time for fuck around.
He threatened him 4 times. Threatened him once.
Yeah.
Threatened him once. Hey, listen, I'm going to give you a chance here. And they're like, "A chance for what, asshole?" And he'd be like, "Okay, you asked for it. Boom."
Yeah, no, it's the example I always use is the famous moment in Indiana Jones where the guy's got the swords and he does this whole thing and Harrison Ford just shoots him. And that seems to be a little bit more accurate. By the way, speaking of fucking around, I always like when I get the opportunity to share these comments. The great hack ride. Is this
Welcome
the
back.
Vinny the lawyer using Christian Bladt to pummel Carl with support group? No, okay, I'll see myself out. Do have to thank Hack Ride and DJ Electra for making very special guest appearances, along with the great Carl Hamburger, on Who Are These Broadcasts Halloween Spectacular on the Who Are These Podcasts YouTube channel. Thank you, Hack Ride. I always feel like by the time I bring these up on screen, you're already gone, but we always appreciate your presence. And Sam Bibley, I don't think it's possible to make a good Venom movie. Some things should stay in the comics and in the 90s, to be honest. Well, I mean, the 90s is one of the greatest decades of all of our lifetime, but I don't know. So there have been 4 movies with Venom in it now, because we have to count the OG, the classic Topher Grace's Venom. And so far,
The
I
real
don't
Venom,
believe
you
the real Venom. Yeah, exactly. I don't believe we've gotten a good Venom movie. Now, can you take footage from all 3 of those? And, if you want to get, you want to blur out Topher Grace and make a good movie? No, I don't think you can. The first one's fine, but it wasn't good. That was my takeaway from that. Eric, you had kind of the same thing, right? Where Venom 2 wasn't like, a cherished ritual of, watching and rewatching. Oh, it's Saturday. Time for Venom 2. Let's throw it on the
It's
big
the
screen
Sabbath.
out back.
What better way to celebrate the Sabbath than Venom 2?
Right.
No, the Sabbath. Venom 2 is for Yom Kippur when you're supposed to pay for your sins.
I watch that until I remember what I've done wrong. It's funny. You guys said the exact same thing I was thinking of. What's amazing about Venom 2 is how little of it I remember. I think the only thing I think I remember, and maybe it wasn't even from that film, was I think Venom 8 Carnage at the end. Like just kind of slurped him up, and that's all and of course Woody Harrelson doing, it's almost like Woody from Cheers had a head wound. Was how I described the performance. It was so forgettable. The first Venom I remembered maybe 5% of. Carnage 0.5% maybe. And so, I kind of went into this sort of flying blind, and even the villain that was sort of, I don't know if the villain was quite promised in the way like Madam Web promised lots of spider ladies. Like they didn't use him in the marketing, but that was supposed to be, was his name Null?
Null, yes.
Null.
K-N-U-L. Yeah, not to be confused with the great film Krull. Let's not.
One of my best friends still won't forgive me for taking him to that movie 40 years later.
I can't believe that friend is still one of your best friends.
I gave him a copy of that during my wedding as a groomsman gift. So the fuck you continues with it.
I hope you followed up with a copy of the Dark Crystal. But yes, so Null, who's not in
it at Null and Void, right? Not in it at all.
I was thinking Null, yeah.
So Null is in this in the way that Thanos is a protagonist in the first few MCU movies. You see him in the end. He's sitting in a chair. I might be capable of some really bad things. Really show us.
You just stay right there. Remind me to murder you later.
No,
basically,
it's like old Steve Rogers. No, I don't think I will. I don't think I'll show you what a badass I am. Hughezy, did you have any familiarity with Null going into this? He is, more of a present in more recent comic books. So I think your perspective might be interesting. Did you care at the idea that Null might have been in this movie, and it was the ultimate tease, as we say, that he's in the movie, he just doesn't do anything?
I had never heard of him until after the film was done, and I Wikipedia'd him.
Yeah.
It seemed quite weird that they brought him in to set up a future film during the final Venom. I'm pretty sure that if they were going to do a fourth, it would be a Lady Venom, and she goes after Null, because that's what we need. Woke Venom. Thanks, Kamala.
Kamala.
Right. Come on.
If you're gonna be offensive
on this channel, you have to pronounce her name correctly. Hughes. Some of the other channels you're on, Quadfather won't make you do that. Yeah, no, I know. It's I learned that from Woke Dad, but we don't need to.
Quadfather spells her name.
We did. So, do you think a Venom 4 would be starring Juno Temple, who had that last vial from, of course, the great Ted Lasso? Which still won't convince Americans that they like soccer. I know it's football, but even the great Ted Lasso and his handsome mustache won't convince most of us. Do you think that is sort of what we call the backdoor pilot, like we get on TV shows, where it's like, oh look, she's in there, and she'll be a lot cheaper. She'll be a lot cheaper than Tom Hardy would be using.
Yeah, I do think that was supposedly the plan. But also, there was a post-credit scene at the end, and plus when they got that vial from the bar when the coin was left, so there is technically some symbiote left if there were to be a fourth. But box office-wise, there will not be a Venom 4.
Yeah, I think that they felt like they were probably surprised. I don't know. I mean, in the second one, unless I'm mistaken, it came out in like 2021. Wherever it was still that point where they were making excuses for bad box office. They were like, people aren't really ready to come to the movies. I mean, until a new Fast movie comes out, right? Usually then everybody's ready to go back to the movies. Yeah.
Thank God for Vin Diesel. Thank God for Vin Diesel.
I know,
family.
This guy gets it.
We're finally making some sense here. We're finally all four of these quadrants are agreeing on something.
Hughes, you'll be proud. I cut Fast and the Furious into my son's bar mitzvah video. The one of the family speeches, and it's amazing. It really is as if he wrote that for Jews and wrote that for bar mitzvahs.
He even had a Dodge Charger rush through and run over people through a wall. Just come right in.
I lost a finger when that Dodge Charger came by.
You got 9 others. Stop complaining.
And those films are good because they've done 11 of them, and he's not been Me Too'd once.
He's not been what? Once? I'm almost afraid to ask you to repeat it.
You don't want me to repeat it.
Me too. Oh. Yes. No, not yet. So I want to go back to Sam Bibley in the chat. Not dissing the 90s comics, by the way. I just think if people want Venom, they should read the classics. Look, I think that the sort of the arrival of the Venom character as Venom in Amazing Spider-Man 300 is something. David has the Secret Wars issue 1 t-shirt on, which is the series where we first got him. And Sam Bibley continues, to do a proper Venom movie, you would need at least one entire Spider-Man movie where he wears the symbiote. Agreed.
Of course.
If you want Venom in the third movie, the symbiote should appear in the first movie. Yeah, I think that Spider-Man 3 definitely rushed a lot of things. We got Gwen Stacy in a way that I don't think made anybody happy, and we got Venom in a way that didn't make anybody happy. Topher Grace did have some amazing frosted tips in that movie. So look, even a broken clock is right twice a day. No,
Carl rots him much harder.
No. Which I miss Carl's frosted tips, but
I still say
don't cut this out and isolate that as a drop. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I still say that in Spider-Man 3, up to a point, that film is really good. It's once Peter killed or attempts to kill the Sandman, then it goes really bad, and then you hear all that stuff about the behind the scenes of how the studio was interfering and how Venom wasn't originally supposed to be in uh, Spider-Man 3, but the studios sort of pressured them to put it in. So I think that we were robbed of a great Venom, and that theft has gone on all the way up to 2024.
Yeah, and don't quote me on it, but I believe that movie came out in 2007. So we have
17 years of Venom disappointment, basically.
Yeah, but they'll get them right eventually. So we can backtrack to the movie in a second, but we've gotten to this point in the conversation, and let's just say that they don't do a fourth Venom movie, and I can't see why they would, considering the reaction to this one. But they're not going to let the character die. So what's next for him? I'll ask you first, Eric. Do you think Venom, and it might not be a symbiote with Eddie, but some Venom type character, would he show up in a Sinister Six movie that they allegedly still want to make? And I don't know how it could go wrong if they also have Jared Leto as Morbius in that film, and you also get a Venom, and
the Craven.
You have Michael Keaton as Vulture, just like, the fuck did I sign that I ended up in this movie? Like, I'm pretty sure I said no to this. And yes, of course, Craven would be in a Sinister Six movie. And, you're hoping your favorite Rhino, Paul Giamatti, would be in it. But where do you think they go from here? And we'll kind of go semi-clockwise. I want each of you to say where you think we're going with Venom, and I'll be back in a moment.
Oh, wow, he left us. So, Hughezy, what was all the things you were going to say before Christian rudely cut you off?
Yeah.
That might have gotten.
And can we ask each other some real questions other than that bullshit he's been asking us now that he's gone?
So the Die Hard 3 costume, I'll read out specifically what it said on Bruce Lewis's
medical. We'll hold off on that.
No.
But before we go there, I will say, I would hope. You're wearing the Secret Wars shirt, right? There would be a beautiful poetry to Venom.
Yes.
Really fully entering the MCU and Secret Wars.
That is my answer.
That's up to the attorneys. That's the thing. It's like, you were talking before about which characters are contractually obligated licensed to Sony, which will they give over to Marvel or share? And I don't know if even after what I assume is going to be, it's already a financial disappointment with this one. I assume Craven's not going to stop that bleeding. So I don't know at what point Sony is just like, maybe we should license these characters out, give it to Marvel, let them do it, right? Because that would be ideal.
They made a fortune off Spider-Man. If they could make
it worked out great for everyone.
All Marvel has to do is give them $200 million for Venom's likeness, and that's more than they're going to make on this movie.
Throw in Rhino, throw in Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, you can
for $20.
Put them in, and then even you could make once Secret Wars and Battle World is all over, and there's one world.
Right.
Venom can be part of that world. Buy him out. They're not going to do anything with Venom. And then they can license him back for a Sinister Six movie. At some point, Sony's going to go, we're not making any money. The only character we have that's worth a damn is Spider-Man, and we can't make a Spider-Man movie.
And all the villains in the world in the Spider-Verse without Spider-Man, it's Christian, you and I are talking about, maybe you can get away with one Joker movie without Batman, but two?
The Spider-Verse is like a movie about the news without Huey Lewis.
Didn't we always listen to the album 4 just for the bass?
I only listened to 3 because I was like, I don't even need Huey Lewis.
4 might be too much.
Right.
But with I think that in the most recent Spider-Man video game that was out on PlayStation 5, which I have, just bragging. But at one point in it, the villain of the game is Craven.
Yeah.
And you at some point play Venom and you have to fight Craven in the middle of Times Square. I would think that potentially if Craven is a success, which I think we can all bet our houses on it being a runaway smash, that if there were to be a Craven 2, that it could be, I need to hunt down the greatest game. I want the Venom, because he doesn't know the Venom's dead. Or maybe he does, that dumb fucking immigrant. But I think that there's a
Keeping in mind
chance.
that this is Hughezy saying this.
What are
so,
your thoughts on the island of Puerto Rico while we're at it? No,
I
don't.
Be careful of those questions.
Well, I think
I'm
of
a
the great
fan.
Tony Hinchcliffe once said.
No.
He was
But
great
he-
at the Tom Brady roast, by the way, Tony Hinchcliffe. If we,
He was great at the Tom Brady roast.
Yeah,
No one's
see,
going to
there you go.
remember him for that now.
yeah.
Yeah, you would have
Hughes
to be an incredibly stupid person to think, you know who we should get at my political rally? Someone that's infamous for incredibly racist jokes.
Yeah.
That'll go down well.
Hey, listen,
Someone who's
Gilbert
listed on the
Gottfried was
program. Someone is listed on the program as Kill Tony.
Gilbert Gottfried was hired by Disney for years, though. You know, sometimes you're like, well, maybe he'll calm down.
But yeah, so
Gilbert's one of
I
the
would.
greatest stories ever of somebody who fucked up their career.
So
All he had
I
to
would.
do was say Affleck. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Jesse.
Yeah.
So I would say that there could be a Venom, another Venom film. It probably won't be Venom 4,
Yeah.
and it could be just Venom cameoing or appearing in like Raven 2 or another Spider-Man or Eternals 2, which will be announced any minute now. You know.
Yeah. Feige's
Oh.
just waiting for the right moment to talk.
I know,
about
no,
Eternals.
Blade. Blade will begin with Venom handing him his sword.
I was just thinking because isn't oh shit, what's the one that's coming up with a team up? The Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts. Yeah.
Right,
Asterisk.
because they've kept it top secret that they're being hired to go hunt something or someone down for the Elaine from Seinfeld. And
Yes.
what if what they're hunting down is the symbiote from the MCU, so that we could then get the MCU version of Venom.
I mean, I think that from a financial standpoint, that makes a lot of sense. From an IP standpoint, that makes sense. But you got to play nice with Sony in order to do that. So I do think that, look, an iteration of Venom has been around. It'll be 40 years next year. And I'm sorry. Did you ask why I left? Okay, I guess I'll have to show off the only slab
Go ahead, Carrot Top.
CGC book that I have is this, which you can't see because of my stupid background screen. So I'll have to apologize to my
John
wife
Melendez
for,
level of tech right here, Christian.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Can you put it over your face, maybe? Oh, there
Well,
you
that's
go.
what I tried to do. Yeah.
Mm.
So
Up sideways.
it is indeed a 9.2 Secret Wars #8. Triple signed. Oh, you didn't realize.
It's not going to make your D any bigger, Christian.
But says you. Jim Shooter, Mike Zeck, and John Beatty. Triple signed, 9.2. Yes, I paid a little extra to have it pressed, but at the same time, I bought this book for 75 cents in 1985. So
Well, I bought 10 of them, so they're still in my garage.
Well, if I can just show off it, Tony Hinchcliffe signed my Die Hard 3 action figure. If you can see it, says.
But this is what I'm excited about. So this is the technical introduction of the black costume, which would go on to become Venom. But interestingly, I wanted to kind of take a moment to talk about the history that this book comes out literally 8 months after he's already wearing the black suit in the comic books. And by the time that we get this issue on the newsstands, he's actually already had the symbiote taken off of him by Mr. Fantastic. So I can't say that I really thought much about it. It kind of ends ominously, that Amazing Spider-Man 258, and you're like, oh, what's going to happen with this character? And I do have to say it's very impressive. The Todd McFarlane design of Venom that we know with the teeth and the long tongue and all of that is impressive, but not enough time do people credit the writers who also create what the character is, and that was David Michelinie at that point. So I mean, Venom is a big reason why I stopped reading Spider-Man comics, because of just how often he was there. One of the last ones I bought was the first appearance of Carnage. Jealous nerds? Yeah, I got that one. But after that, I'm like, oh, Carnage War and Venom. And I was just like, eh. And then years later, you read stories with the character and it's a little bit more nuanced, and I kind of appreciate him more. and I think like, oh, maybe this movie's going to be pretty good, but they're not. They're not really good. I mean, we're all talking about how the third one didn't leave us with that same feeling as the second one, but it it didn't leave us with the feels, Eric. You were just like, well, the last half hour was fun, but you'd been in that seat for like 2+ hours, right, Eric?
Yeah, no, I was looking for any kind of respite, and what I forgot about, because you were asking before about like when did we know it was going to be kind of garbage. I forgot about the opening scene, which was Null explaining, "I am Null,"
Oh yeah, I forgot
and
about
it
that
was
too.
like, "Wait, are you freaking kidding me?" It's like, "I will send you to find," blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what the like? Was this like tacked on later? Like, it's one of those moments that it doesn't feel like a writer would have ever willingly wrote that. I think it was a studio who said, no one understands what's happening here. We got to do a quick fix. Let's just get a, green screen set and go to it. And it's
Exposition, please.
the exposition dump, vomit, and
Yeah.
every other fluid that almost came out of Hughezy when he was watching this. It was such an awful start that it took me probably a good half hour just to kind of forget about that. And then the fact that Null is like never used, I think was really like the biggest sort of cheat. Like, he's actually kind of a cool character from what I've read, because I didn't know anything about him until this. And they just sort of had him. It was like, again, sort of Thanos off to the side, except this is the guy that's supposed to be really running the show here. And no other characters speak, no other antagonists speak. So as a result, we just have a bunch of monsters like we've seen a million times before, with much more impressive CG previously, and they show up, and it just like very quickly, it's like, okay, well, I guess this is what we have. But I mean, at least the last third had the sort of Venom army, I guess it is, or the Venom verse, whatever you would call them.
Well,
Go ahead.
you called it an army. So I have a question about that, because I was going to bring this point up. When they show Null, right? Null, whatever his name is, he's in prison, right? He's this powerful being, and the greatest thing in the world to him would be to be freed, right? He's searching the universe for this MacGuffin Codex thing. And so in order to get this back, a life-altering possibility to get the Codex, right? He first sends one creature.
Yeah.
Then he sends two.
Yep.
Then he goes crazy and sends
Sends
four.
them all, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't send an army. He sends just enough to make it a tough fight, but not an impossible fight. Your life is on the line. You're in prison for decades, eons, whatever. And you send, I'll send a few. I want to save these guys. I don't want to, I'm just going to send enough. If this was like a real 616, Thor and Hulk, and it'd be other creatures. You send four, you're like, that'll be enough. It's not that important of a job. So I'm just going to send four. It doesn't seem like...
I do believe that Null manages his personnel and all of his, servants. It's very similar. I think it's the same bookkeeping that they use for the North Korean army. You don't really have the resources. So one is probably, all right, we'll do two. But we're really pushing it when we try to do four.
So you think the four were like, you're going to send more? Are we not good enough? Are you saying that we can't handle it? No, I would never say that. You four can handle it. Go.
You guys will be fine. Yeah. Exactly.
The other guys were in the reserves. They hadn't been called up officially yet.
Right.
Like the National Guard.
Yeah, they
Stolen
just thought
valor.
that they thought they only had to, do 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year in the Null army. By the way, speaking of Null, Hughezy, is Null the more talented member of Oasis, or I have that wrong?
Nice. But to answer your question, no, that would be Bonehead.
Thank you.
Which one's Bonehead?
Buckethead's cousin.
The rhythm guitarist. They have so many different chords to remember.
Well, see, that's why I went to Hughezy on that, because I knew he would have the answer. You talked about what the third act have, but at no point have any of us brought up what I think we need to. The family that drives around in the microbus that takes Eddie in. And,
the hippie time fillers.
Yeah. And look, it's hard to distill like what's the worst thing in this movie. The introduction of them, every minute they're on screen is a little bit of a strain. But then when they end up in sort of what is that actual exciting, climax scene, they're all up on the tower, which you're like, how does that happen? There are people who talk about what they don't like is when they see the writing sometimes on the screen. Someone was very proud of those characters, and I don't know, Brody. What did you think? Were you happy that they brought a little lighthearted mirth to the otherwise dark and murky world of Venom?
If only they could have made the bus ride and the sing along longer. That's what we needed. We needed more time in the van with nothing happening, just showing how stupid the parents were and annoying the kids were. There wasn't enough time in the van. And then let's go to Area 51, where you've established people go there all the time to see aliens. It's a huge military base. Everyone knows it's like top secret. But let's park where there's a giant hole in the fence that we can all go in, and then there's no security. Let's just walk across Area 51, walk up to a tower. Nobody sees us, so that we, because we need to be in a place where we could fall. That's where we need to be. Yeah, please, more of them.
One of my favorite tropes, Brody, in superhero cinemas that has limited budget is when they have top secret military bases that are really easy to get into. If you remember Wolverine Origin, that one, literally all he needed to do was use one of his claws to pick a lock, and there was no alarms. It's like, my house has an alarm. And
That's true.
I don't run Area 51 or wherever Wolverine was hanging.
You can tell the security.
By the way, Eric.
You can tell the security of a military base by how many times the person sneaking in has to stop, go against the wall, look around, run to the next one, stop, look around. If it's less than 3 times, not a lot of security. Yeah. They stopped once. And then they ran.
It was harder for Ted. It was harder for Ted Stryker to break out of the insane asylum in Airplane 2 than it was to get in there. What did you think of all this, Hughezy?
Well, the first family scene was when I really started disliking Eddie in the film. I've got it ever since I've seen the Oscar-winning classic Little Nicky, the Adam Sandler film. There's a thing where the devil was standing on a pizza, and I thought, no, you don't ruin a pizza like that, you piece of shit. And then when the family offered Eddie food, and he gets it, and Venom goes, disgusting, and he throws it away. I just thought that's not funny. That's just rude to the family who wasted their time. And then they get in the fucking van, and in full from beginning to end, they sing Space Oddity.
Yep.
And at no point, I love David Bowie, and I love that song, but at no point does that song in any way have anything to do with the plot. There's nothing about it that we learn in the conversation. It just goes on, and it's like, that's 3 or 4 minutes that you could have edited out, saved money on the budget, and they could have spent more time with the ABBA song that everybody loved.
But remember the beginning of the Wayne's World movie when they listened to Bohemian Rhapsody. So this is basically the same as that. I don't see any
twice
difference.
as many laughs
and not as many headbangs.
Yeah, Hughes, were you hoping that they, instead of Bowie, they would have done Tin Machine? Would that have worked more for you?
Why not Loving the Alien, which would have been hilarious because it says the word alien in the song. Get it?
Yeah. And then Venom could be like, "Ooh, that's me." See, I'm an
alien.
Yeah, we wrote a better director's cut of that scene, and it's I don't know. Eddie is very unlikable in all of these movies, but I do agree with Hughezy, and I'm tired of the voice by this third movie. As it's just the choice that he talks like that, and I don't know. I'd rather hear him as Bane, I think, than hear him talking.
Get it?
Yeah.
Not really Bane. It's me. I was joking, you Brody.
Thanks for the reveal there. I don't know that we got that, Hughezy. But I know, Erica, the mention of Bane reminds me that I know that, as always, you did share some images with us. And
Jesus.
You know, not those.
No, those only go privately to Christian.
No. Yeah, no. That former producer of a network does not have my email address, so we don't have to worry about that. But what we do have is Eric sent me a few things. Oh, and I had it right there. Let's move us over here. So talk a little bit, and keeping in mind that we do have audio audiences
Yes,
who will be
indeed.
experiencing this.
Well, as we always say, for our radio Wi-Fi, for our radio listeners, Tom Hardy's whole thing, and you guys brought this up at the beginning, like it's like he's perpetually overcompensating, like almost like the apology. I'm sorry I'm in this Venom movie, but I'm gonna make him sound as effed up as I made all these other guys sound, so that you can understand none of it. So you'll have to watch it with subtitles, or else you're gonna miss everything. And I think here too, it's almost like Eddie over the course of the films, like it's like the reverse Rocky. Like Rocky 1, Stallone is barely articulate anything. By Rocky 3, 4, he's like, "Oh, hi, Adrian. It's good to see you. It's me, Rocky." and Tom Hardy's the reverse in this. Eddie is like a mumbling, like village idiot by this film. And if you are able to go to the next photos there, there were some inspirations, I think, that maybe
some
Mr.
inspirations. So
one being, yes, this is Mumbles from Dick Tracy, as played by Dustin Hoffman in the film. It feels like he had one toe in that. And if you could keep going through the slides, Christian, this is there's Dustin Hoffman as Mumbles, which again played great in that movie for a minute, and then he went on. Was his name Feswick or in Usual Suspects? Benicio del Toro, another great mumbly performance, but once again, not a lead, a supporting character. I mean, fantastic.
Yeah,
if he was the lead,
he'll flip you. Yeah. No, we got good stuff from him. Yeah, absolutely.
And then the last one here, I might have to explain. It is if you could show the next picture, it's Will Ferrell from Melinda and Melinda. So it's a little more of a deep track that maybe only Brody.
All right. So I'm sorry. Let me just pump the brakes for a second. So a second ago, you had me share a still from a Bryan Singer movie, and now I have a still from a Woody Allen movie.
Yes.
What are you trying to say? Are you trying to get a job in Hollywood?
The next one's from a Harvey Weinstein movie. So
I was waiting for that.
And starring Kevin Spacey.
No,
actually, no, it's not. But this is Will. So Will.
Well, Usual Suspects is Kevin Spacey.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. You slipped him in, so to speak.
The Kevin Spacey story.
Be very knowing who's on this panel. Be very careful where you go next with this, Brody.
But if you remember Will Ferrell in this, he plays an out of work actor, and every character he plays, he goes, "I like to play it, but I play it with a limp." And I kept thinking about this when like Tom Hardy is like his whole body language is like perpetually like just looking like the guy from Men in Black who wants sugar water. He's and it's just overcompensating. It's like Tom Hardy. I'll give him credit. He's not phoning it in, but whatever he's doing, it becomes like its own movie that has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. And he's a good actor, but it's a shit choice he's making.
I think that Tom Hardy's gotten into to the second half of his Robert De Niro stage, where Tom Hardy, there was a while people thought he's the greatest actor on the planet because he would do these really, like Bronson and the one with Leonardo DiCaprio that I can't remember the name of it, Revenant or something.
Titanic.
Revenant. Yeah. Oh, no.
Revenant.
Titanic.
He was
very good as Kate Winslet.
Doing all these great performances, but now he's just like, okay, where's the money?
Yeah, I think that there's a line of demarcation with Mr. De Niro, which would be Meet the Fockers, not Meet the Parents. But there's a certain point, and it's not even Rocky and Bullwinkle. There's a point before that.
The wife of the family in Venom 3 that Eddie meets also played a Hispanic character in Meet the Fockers, and also there's a film called Waiting where she shows off her arse.
Yeah, I think you've just sold people on the film Waiting. That I've seen the DVD box, but never actually watched the film. I felt like I had aged out of those kind of romps once I
said
hit my
box.
30s. You did
By
it.
the way, speaking,
You made me. You made me do it.
Speaking of the mother, is there a worse mother in a movie recently that sees a
Jennifer Lawrence, but go on. I'll let you finish your thought.
A dirty, grubby, shoeless, inked up man walk out of the woods and says, "Oh, hey kids, let's get this guy some food and have him come jump in our camper with us and go for a ride." I know they're hippies and they're like love all and serve all, but when the guy throws the plate of food, you're like, he seems normal. Yeah. Walked out of the woods, throws the food.
I wonder who they're voting for, eh?
And it's not like they
Jill Stein.
Well, that would make sense. It's not like they put him directly in proximity of their young children, you know. So obviously they were at least a little bit cautious. But you're right. The parenting choices in this film do leave a lot to be desired. Eric, I feel like you're trying to get a word in edgewise.
Well, just Poltergeist to me still is the holy grail for terrible parenting, where the house tries to eat the child, and then a little person goes, "This house is clean," and they're like, "Okay, we'll stay over for the night, and I'll take a bath." And then guess what happens? The house tries to kill the kids again. I watched it again recently, and I just remember even as a kid thinking these parents suck. And now that I'm a parent, I'm like, man, I feel great as a parent because I know I wouldn't do this. You're right. The family stuff is so stupid, and it's really not funny. So again, it's like we can forgive things if there's genuine laughs, but I mean, that guy I've seen him in a bunch of things. He tends to be pretty good, but my God, it was like you just were itching to get out of that van, and those parents are horrible. And the kids were cute, I guess, but if something horrible happened to the kids, I'd be okay. I would have been fine.
One of them could have splatted at the bottom of the tower. One of them, they have two.
But not both, yeah.
Right, not both. No, I'm not an animal.
You're not.
But speaking of tropes and character types, like we've had those kids in other movies. Like not saying those two actors, but we've had that. You know, like the daughter's dialogue. Every line could have easily been taken from a different script, and like, yeah, we'll just use that. You know, we'll just put that in here. You know,
Dad.
Yeah. Exactly.
I thought a mistake they made with that family that could have been a little interesting is because obviously that actor, Rhys Evans, or whatever his name is, he was the lizard in the Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, right.
So
right.
what? And so obviously he's not the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man because we've seen that one. That was the Great Topher Grace. He wasn't the Tom Holland Venom because he had to go to another dimension. So he is that dimension's.
So you're saying this is Andrew Garfield? You're saying it's that one? I mean, I think of any Spider-Man, and we can always go all the way back to Nicholas Hammond, who played him on television in 1978. If we've gotten any Spider-Man in this movie, in any of these movies, it would have made it better. You can give me Aunt May. That would be fine. You give me any of the B-listed characters. I'll take Robbie Robertson. I'll take Betty Brant. I Ned Leeds. I'll take everybody. But instead, we have the lady who ran I don't know if they call them bodegas in San Francisco, but
convenience store.
Yeah, that's and Eric, of the many images that you shared, I think that this is the one that we talked about possibly getting matching back tattoos of Venom dancing with Mrs. Chang in the hotel room in Vegas, right?
Should I get the Mrs. Chang and you get the Venom?
Yeah, because when we're pressed up together, obviously.
Right.
Do them on your side. So when you're side by side,
Yeah, it's like the old comic covers. You'd put them side by side.
Right, the Mad magazine. Yeah.
The Mad Fold-In by Al Jaffe. Yes, that's the ultimate. If you can get a tattoo that does that.
Also, your wife might be offended by that tattoo, while my wife would appreciate that I've kind of explored other options for lady friends. So I think it would work out nice.
I just thought of a joke that is going to stay up here, and you're all welcome because I did. So
escape after dark.
I thought of it too. Gun to your head. Which is the more annoying dance scene, this one or She-Hulk twerking?
Oh, this one.
Ooh, Hughezy, you seem to have an answer, so go ahead.
She-Hulk twerking, because at least it was sort of established that this Venom is a fucking it's a party Venom, you know, because in Was it Venom 2 where he went out to a rave because him and Eddie broke up?
Yes. That is Venom 2. Yeah.
So this Venom loves to dance.
Yeah.
And also, who wouldn't hit on that lady if they had the chance? She looked fucking great.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of Venom who obviously likes to party. He would definitely mail narcotics to himself in Cape Coral, Florida, just for the sake of being able to party once he got there. And so many people I need to apologize for jokes that are really just targeted by select members on the panel. But we make so many like old media references that it's there's like a Venn diagram and people are just like, I don't know what they're talking about right now.
But twerking needs to stop because it's just this generation's Macarena. You're going to look fucking stupid. So stop doing whatever you think is currently popular. Everything that's popular is shit.
It's more La Lambada than it is Macarena, I'd argue. But
throw him off.
Hey, Eric, that dance is forbidden.
Yeah, and also Lambada's a great song, so you can get cancelled for saying that these days.
That's La Bamba. That's La Bamba.
No.
Okay, you're off the show too.
Hughezy, I wish you weren't right in saying that everything that's popular is shit, but it'd be very hard to make the case against everything that's popular. Like let's just only begin and end with the Costco guys. I mean, really, we don't need any more beyond that. And if you want a real cheap treat, check out yesterday's Who Are These Broadcasters, where I showed their video of their Yankees hype song that is responsible for I don't know what, but a lot of pain in the world. That's the Costco guys. I forget what all their names are, but they're terrible. Anyway,
you couldn't do a show on BJ's?
Oh, we've done that before, but that's what Patreon's for. That's what YouTube memberships are for. That's what
Black Angus.
Yeah.
Speaking of BJ's, they're called AJ and Big Justice.
Thank you, AJ and Big Justice and Mama Justice.
And they suck each other's dicks.
No, they're father and son, Hughezy. No.
That's not what. No, I mean over here, that's slang for they hang out with each other. Not like
no. It's a Costco thing. They only do samples.
It's a regional dialect that you have to forgive Hughezy when he says things.
It's like fanny packs. You can't say fanny pack over then.
Yeah,
take out a cigarette.
Hughezy does like a girl with a nice fanny pack, is what I think. But who amongst us doesn't? In any case, this movie is. I mean, it's not great, but I don't know. I've seen so much worse lately. I just feel like I'm numb. So let me objectively ask you, Hughezy. You seem to be disappointed at your cinematic offerings more often than not, but this isn't even like a bottom 5 movie of 2024, is it?
No, I think the one thing that sort of saved it in a way is there was 2 things in it that I really liked. One, there was a chase sequence in a river where Eddie was struggling with the gun with the soldier, and the gun went off and the soldier was killed. So that when they actually showed Eddie going, holy shit, I just killed somebody, which you don't get that really in action films where John McClane just opens up fire, kills 7 people in 10 minutes and just goes looking for a smoke. So I like that part of it. And the third big action sequence I thought was very well done. That being said, I don't think that action alone is enough to make a film good. If it was, Brody would be wearing a Transformers 5 t-shirt right now.
Wait a minute.
Oh, nice. Speaking of tattoos.
What's $5 get me?
Yeah.
So but I didn't hate this. But I'm done with Tom Hardy. The Bike Riders I was so looking forward to. Went to see it earlier this year. It was fucking awful. So and because I hated Venom 2 so much, I went in expecting shit. And because I was expecting so much shit, that it ended up just being more crap than shit.
I didn't even realize that there was a difference. So yeah, but Where are you at, Brody? Sort of overall. I mean, this can't be the worst 2 hours you spent at a movie theater. Maybe even this year, or maybe it was. Let me know what you think.
No, the worst movie I saw this year, I think, was Long Legs, or whatever that movie was
I
with
didn't
Nicolas
see that
Cage.
one. Yeah.
Whatever I think that's what it was called. That was terrible. This movie had a couple of. I will say, in regards to shooting that woman in the water, why did they have to pick a woman who underwater looked like a dark skinned woman with a long curly hair, who looked just like the scientist in right? I was like, oh, they just shot. Why was she out on a mission?
I thought that was her too. I'm glad. There's so much about this movie that got crammed into my head. I forgot about it. I was very confused. I'm like, is that character still alive? Is that a symbiote pretending to be her? Oh no,
like,
it's
why would
just
they use a woman with the same
her.
hair? And underwater, you can't really tell the face, and she was blue or I couldn't tell if she was, dark skin or not. I'm like, it's like you kill a redhead, and there's another redhead. You're like, is that the same redhead?
Well, I don't see color, and I didn't think they looked alike at all. So you just get canceled. You'll never be on Saturday Night Live now.
But I know I can go to a rally. But you know what? I was referring to the curly hair more than the skin.
Oh, so they all have the same hair now? Okay, I get it. I get it.
No.
Yeah. Okay, Don Imus. Yeah.
Here's a hot take from Sam Bibley. Long Legs was good, actually.
It was not actually.
Well, I know
it was literally bad. Literally.
Cami Egan, was Venom: The Last Dance better or worse than the show that shall not be named? Now, for people who maybe need to be clued in, we are talking about Secret Invasion. It's easier to watch this than Secret Invasion because that's 5 or 6 episodes or whatever.
But I think you're unfair to Secret Invasion. I mean, it didn't have stuff like a storyline or a plot or a reason to actually watch.
Or a budget.
Or budget. But apart from that, Secret Invasion was great, right? Really good stuff.
Apart from all that.
In fairness,
go ahead. Well, sorry.
No, go ahead. Read Cami Egan.
She-Hulk twerking, I still have nightmares about. And then here's a shout out for some of us, as long as it's not Stuttering John twerking. So,
full circle.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to make sure we got those in there. I'm sorry. What were you going to say, Brody?
Is that him stuttering or him trying to get up?
Well, it's interesting because there's very little stuttering in that man's life, actually, as it turns out. The more he gets going,
it's amazing.
Well, when his kids are looking for money, I don't have any.
Your stepfather would buy a car. I can't. Anyway, and Chris Tuttle, I don't think you're correct there. I know for a fact that people from San Francisco hate when you call it Frisco.
There's as much as New Yorkers hate when you call it the Big Apple.
But it is a big apple. I mean, you've seen that apple at City Field.
I have the Mets tchotchke with the apple.
Yes, that's the apple. That's the apple.
The city is not. And by the way, Chris Tuttle is hashtag Team Hughezy. Waiting is excellent still. So
there's a sequel called Still Waiting.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh. Well, that's good. By the way, Chris also said Dick Tracy was my favorite film at the time. I haven't seen him in many years. And I know this is not what we're talking about, but it's one of the most amazing things ever that Warren Beatty still has the rights to Dick Tracy. Yes. And every few years he has to renew the rights. So he does these like almost zero budget. I think one of them was just an interview with a movie critic. A really famous one. I can't remember which one it is, and he just in character does these videos and hopes no one actually ever sees them. But he's like, okay, I still have the character. So he really doesn't want people to make a new Dick Tracy movie. And you know what I'm going to say? He's serving his country and his planet very well by keeping us from another Dick Tracy movie. Unless Madonna was going to be in it, then I'd at least.
Okay. Dick Tracy.
She is Clayface now.
I'm glad I didn't quite hear what you said, Hughes. She's looking better than ever, though, is what I think you said about Madonna. But Hughes, Brody, you have a great question.
Yeah, Dick Tracy 2 or Venom 4. Which would you rather see?
Or
Madam Web 2.
Oh, well, Madam Web 2 would be great because they teased all of these characters, including Sydney Sweeney, as superheroes. And we didn't actually get it except for more than a few seconds. So yes, Madam Web 2 is actually probably the great movie that the first one wasn't able to be. Although Dick Tracy 2 is Cami Egan's preference.
She wants more Dick, of course. Great character.
I can't.
The
I can't believe you're talking so impolite. Eric, I'm understanding that you have to go.
Dick
right?
Tracy.
Oh, and I want to hear his last Dick Tracy thought.
Right.
Nope.
yeah.
So
Nope.
we'll the rest of us will say goodbye in a moment. But Eric, please promote Dick Tracy. That's a great visual. Thank you for running with the theme for the last hour and 14 minutes. Eric Connor, where can people find you other than where you'll be able to find all of us Friday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, talking about the 2-episode finale of Agatha All Along on Geekscape?
Yeah, that's the most important thing going on in any of our lives. I'll agree.
Yep.
But also, last thoughts, Dick Tracy too over any of those. I like Dick Tracy. I'll defend Dick Tracy. I'll even defend his very strange interviews because in one of them, Warren Beatty is going to have his last moment on Earth. Will be him in that Dick Tracy costume as he turns to dust or whatever happens when very handsome men die. I haven't seen that many. So
Cam Egan was trying to help me with who the film critic was. She says John Lovitz is the critic. She's thinking of Jay Sherman. It stinks. But actually, I remember it was Leonard Maltin. I do remember who it was.
Yes, not the animation.
And also, I'm glad you survived this screening, Hughezy, because I had a similar response when I saw The Fifth Element. I may or may not have had a case of bad sushi and good sake and a lot of both. And so that movie for me was, I saw 5+ elements come out of me in the bathroom over at the downtown theater in Manhattan.
I'm sure that the Sixth Element that you left behind was more entertaining than the movie, but thank you to Count Eric Connor. We appreciate your time. And over here on Geekscape, we will see him on Friday as we wind things down with Agatha All Along. Do we have any other final thoughts? I might peruse the chat a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that we close the book on Venom, hopefully forever, but there's too much money to be made. We'll see the character again, but I do agree with the assessment that we had at the beginning, Hughezy, that there will not be a 4th Tom Hardy Venom movie.
Yeah, this is one of the few times when I actually really want the reboot. Tom Hardy's not the actor to play. Like, I don't know who could play Eddie Brock. I think for a long time the perfect actor was Jason Statham, but he doesn't give a shit anymore either. And whenever they do it, it has to be a villain. I have no idea where this comedic spin on the black suit came in. When Spider-Man 3, they had him doing comedy. In this one, they actually made Venom like a wacky sidekick. It's terrible.
Venom is closer in the comic books to Carnage in terms of the amount of killing that he enjoys and sort of some unspeakable things that I think they only danced around what the character would do because of the ever prevalent comics code authority. Do you have any final thoughts on Venom 3? I almost called it 4. I'm sorry, Brody.
Oh, that's okay. I just can't get over the stupidity of all of the. Every time I accepted the stupidity, they hit me with more stupidity. That's what it was. It was a barrage of that doesn't make any sense. All right, I'll accept. Oh no, they did it again. I just think the writing was just terrible. I mean, visually it was okay, but the writing on this was just some of the worst writing I've seen in a long time. But I would like to see as the next Venom, as the next Eddie Brock, Jason Alexander.
I would welcome that. Although I do think Michael Richards might be better suited for it, but that's neither here nor there. Ivan Soto, Venom really died. I mean, kinda, but not really, because that he's just like a puddle of ooze, and it was ooze left a couple of different places as we touched on earlier. So if they want to bring him back from this sort of canon, this story, they can. But they can also just be like, yeah, look, here's Venom for the first time ever in the MCU or in our offshoot of the MCU or whatever,
But wasn't there a part when Venom or Eddie Brock was being watched by like a secret government agency? Who was that supposed to be?
Oh my god, I didn't even remember that.
Oh.
Yeah, there are definitely some questions here along
I
the
saw a
way.
breakdown on another channel, and there's a cop or a detective or some government guy from the first or second movie that looks just like the back of the head of this guy. I forget who it was, but it's somebody we've seen before that may have gotten promoted to a higher position.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the problem with movies. TV, it's a little bit easier when they do callbacks because you've seen it somewhat more recently. They think people rewatch these movies, and sometimes you get a character. I mean, look, not every pairing of characters is as burned into our minds as Hobbs and Shaw, right, Hughezy? I mean, that we're never going to forget. But other times it's like, oh, look, it's this guy. Who? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Cam Egan wants to know, would we like to see Tom Holland in the black suit at some point in Spider-Man 4? I don't know about in Spider-Man 4, but I would like to see a Spider-Man story with the symbiote realizing what's happening to him, having to get rid of it, sort of some variation on the comic book story. And then you can do stuff with Venom. Then it becomes more interesting. But I don't know. The Marvel Studios seems to be the ones that have the understanding of you need the building blocks to make us care about characters. Sony and of course Warner Brothers, they're like, how about we just skip the 5 movies in the middle and we just go to the one that we hope makes us the most money.
Yeah.
So on that note, I feel like we've gotten through most of what is in the chat. I do appreciate it. But earlier, Sony's going to do Sinister Six. It's going to be a hot dumpster fire. I mean, look, they're pressing forward on the Sinister Six. I just don't know what exactly it will be.
Yeah, and
so-
one of the things I've got to say is that Venom 3 has confirmed why I will never get a tattoo, because years and years ago I almost get a Venom tattoo because he's my favorite villain. Thank Christ I didn't, and instead I got my Liam Payne one instead.
good.
I have a friend who I've known for a very long time.
Story's made up already.
True. So I met him in 1999, and he had the little cartoon Pearl Jam guy tattooed on his arm, and he's a great guy. In 1999, when I had it, I remember looking, going like, "Ooh, that didn't age well." Because by 1999, I'm like, so you're gonna live with Pearl Jam on your arm. But he, I think, has tried to downplay. It's like, no, it's just a cartoon character. They're like, really? The guy from the Alive single also had a highly rated animated series that I didn't know about. But anyway, that is neither here nor there. But Brody, you have a secret tattoo. Why don't you show it to us right now?
It's a tattoo of a funny man, life size.
Oh, he's right there. And that
Yeah, look.
funny man can be found on the Brooklyn Boys, right? Wherever
That's right. The
podcasts
Brooklyn
are.
Boys. That's right. The Brooklyn Boys podcast, wherever you get podcasts, and at David Brody on your most social media. And most importantly, on the Geekscape. Is it Geekscape for Friday, right? Yep.
Yes.
The Agatha All Along finale wrap-up podcast with Count Eric Connor and, of course, the great Christian Bladt. And El
Katie
Sass
Hampton
Pants,
will be there
possibly.
as well,
Katie
and
Hampton
Nate
will be
Miller.
there.
Yeah.
Nate Miller. Yep. So can't wait.
So it'll be the first time I think we have all 5 of us on the show is to say goodbye to it. And Hughezy, I understand from what you've told me, you're watching Agatha all along and you had no expectations for it. So you're, for the most part, enjoying it, right?
Yeah, I'm blissfully ignorant about what's happening, but I am enjoying the show, likely because of that reason.
Yeah, I think that does go a long way. Sam Bibley, just be cool and get a tattoo of a skull or a rose or snake. No need to reinvent the wheel. So yes, that's
or just get a T-shirt with the logo on it that you want, and then when you're done with it, you get rid of it.
Now, see, that's even smarter. Hughezy, where can people find your content, including award-winning episodes on whether directors stink or not, including Quentin Tarantino and Zack Snyder? And then I think you did one without me about James Cameron. People don't need to look for that one, but look for the other 2. Where can they find all that?
You can find that at Hughes Entertainment on YouTube. Everything is there, all for free. Just sign up and spam the comments, get the view count up. But I've also got to say to specifically be ready, because during November, I record a shitload of episodes. I've already assumed Christian's going to do at least 4 of my ideas, or else I'll
Okay.
box them. And so there's going to be a lot of episodes coming, so that in December I can live up to the stereotype and have nothing to do and just release pre-recorded episodes. All kinds of stuff coming, from interviews to roundtables to let's just say ambushes.
Yeah, and I believe you teased the fact that you hope to bring together the Aussie guy and Steel Toe Aaron Imholt for a reunion. So everybody go over to Hughezy Entertainment for all of that content. And we always have fun, and not just because you bring multiple attractive women to be on with us when we do the
Oh.
show.
When
yeah.
is your new podcast coming out? I hate that fook.
November the 3rd.
See,
very
he's
good.
got a day for it. Yeah.
Very nice.
And of course, you can find me on the Blackcast, BLADTCAST, the YouTube channel, and of course, the audio version where audio can be found. And subscribe, smash that like button, y'all, for Geekscape, for content like this and the Agatha All Along finale. That is all the time for now. But as the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior!